welcome everybody once again to another edition of the Daily Space Weather. We be starting things out looking at the sun in 131 angstroms. This is a 48-hour SDO video, and I be your host, smAsho. And here's the view from HelioViewer, looking at the magnetic fields here. A little bit of magnetic organization going on in the northeast. And we do see a filament in the northeast as well, which we've taken a custom video of. And there's the current activity going on there. And it looks like it's still suspended there. Anybody's guess as to what that'll do. Next, looking at 193 angstroms. And we see some more coronal holes rolling into the Earth-facing region here. That southern one is quite large and quite associated with the south solar polar coronal hole. Again, that's 48 hours from the SDO. And by the way, we are streaming live to Twitch. It's twitch.tv/smAsho if you want to see the videos come out live. We've been doing all the daily space weather live there. So tune in. Tune in, turn on, and don't be burned out by looking at the sun, because it's pretty interesting, even at solar minimum. KP index down to 1, having reached 3, with a small velocity uptick and a density downtick. By the way, Comet Swan will now be visible from the northern hemisphere, and although it's faded a little bit, it has crossed the celestial equator. Also, 99 years ago this week, the May 1921 geomagnetic storm shut down rail lines and power wires, telegraphs. From sunspot AR 1842. And there you have some images of that. Anyway, we are here to look at the 10.7 centimeter radial flux, which is at 69, so right around this area here. Still pretty much solar minimum conditions for the radial flux. Up 1 tick from 68 yesterday. Here are the locations of things like planets. There's where they'll be in a week. And I don't know what that purple glow means. I have no idea what that means. By the way, if you have a low horizon, if you have a view of the ecliptic in clear skies before sunrise, you should be able to see Jupiter, Saturn, the Moon, and Mars all in a line. We don't see any X-ray flaring out of the sun, and the proton flux remains flatlined as well. No surprises there. And we get to talk cosmology once again, as there are some pulsars in the news. About 90 pulsars. But what's the real news? The real news is pulsar glitches. Oh yes, pulsar glitches. So 87 pulsars here, 12 years of observations, studying the velocities and so on. And this is a phys.org article. The most interesting feature of pulsars, in my opinion, is glitches. Because, well, how do they do that? If it's a star that's rotating at that fast of a speed, how could it possibly, how could they possibly have odd glitches in their behavior? So anyway, more than 550 have been detected. The mechanisms behind the behavior are not fully understood. And I believe that the magnetic fields of these massive radio sources have something to do with this. And I prefer to avoid the term neutron star because it's a made-up thing to explain misunderstood mass, I believe. So the idea that there's a star out there that's completely comprised of neutrons is not something I believe until it's proved, basically. So I just call it a massive radio source, just like a pulsar, which is just a neutron star with a massive field that's rotating. So in any case, a lot of these things spin at the speed of dental drills, tens of thousands of rotations per minute. So perhaps read that phys.org article. It's in the astronomy and space section, folks. And don't forget to touch your face. Touch your face and look at the real-time solar wind. Seriously, wash your hands, but touch your face too, for God's sakes. All right, so the real-time solar wind showing us an expectation of coronal hole magnetic connections here, as we don't really see any from that one that's facing the Earth right now, the one associated with the South Pole. So expect to see some of these kind of 180-degree sections in the phi angle throughout the day today. That's what I would expect. And the solar wind density has ramped back up a little bit, coming off of its lows of 2.5 protons. Now it's up to about 10 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed 317. Quite low. Very much background speeds. Now, really, this should be part of the cosmology section, but hey, whatever. We'll talk about it when we talk about geomagnetism. So, part of the thinking behind Earth's geomagnetism has to do with the way that seismic waves are refracted when going through the, quote, inner core and the, quote, outer core and the, quote, mantle. And, again, this is part of the way that Earth's geomagnetism is explained, that we've got this liquid iron layer, and then we've got some kind of iron core or something, and this is all based on gravitational accretion cosmology, basically. And so, anyway, it's not legitimately understood how the Earth's geomagnetic field is generated, and the refraction of these seismic waves does not necessarily prove that there's iron down there, and especially considering the relative lack of heavy elements we see in deep boreholes. But the interesting article that we're talking about here is on this phys.org article, as we see irregularities in the apparent structure of the, quote, inner core, end quote. So regardless of what it's made out of, there are some sort of abnormalities that happen, indicating that there are features on it, things like mountains and canyons, perhaps. And this doesn't really refute my theories of how the Earth's geomagnetic field is generated, but it does actually support some of the ideas behind my current theories on this. And we won't talk about the mainstream theories or the cutting-edge theories. In this video, I just wanted to cite the article, as this does matter. And as it says, it's hotly debated processes that control the planet's magnetic field. So we won't get into the super in-depth into it, as this is the daily space weather. We don't want it to be too long. Is the Earth's magnetic field is generated by liquid iron in the outer core. Survey said? Oh, I thought so. Well, thank goodness. Please leave a comment if you've stockpiled Chef Boyardee. All right, so here's geospace magnetosphere movies, and we see a very steady solar wind producing a very steady magnetosphere due to the induction that it's causing. By the way, the Earth's Z fields are like this. These are the Earth's polar fields. And they're probably fractally similar to the sun's in most ways. And again, we won't get into cosmology. Let's just say those things are related. And that's the magnetohydrodynamic pressure. Here's the ground magnetic perturbations. 4 hours of this, just like the last video, courtesy University of Michigan Geospace Model V 1.5. And if you want to read about the space weather modeling framework that this is based on, head to this page, scroll down. It's Geospace Ground Magnetic Perturbations. At the bottom, click on Details, click on Space Weather Modeling Framework, and it'll all be explained. The GOES magnetometer, showing a little bit smoother stuff here. And we are solidly in the South Pole oriented current sheet, as shown here in red. This is the Gong 2 data, part of the National Sunspot Observatory. The top view ecliptic plane field plot. Nothing to write home about there. Here's the line of sight field plot. Nothing to write home about here. Keep in mind the data is 1 hour and 33 minutes old. Relativistic electrons are at extremely low levels, and we've really been having a huge electron shortage. Here's the total electron content forecast. And by the way, the CTIPE, that stands for coupled thermosphere, ionosphere, plasmasphere, electrodynamics model. Try to use that one in a sentence. If that comes up as a Trivial Pursuit question or a Jeopardy question, I will yell travesty. Anyway, very low levels of electron flux. And you see that reflected there too. Still expecting this to get into storm levels suddenly. Next, looking at a map of the ionosphere. Now we're just back down to one layer. And this one is from Australian Government Bureau of Meteorology. You can easily find all these links, folks. We don't include them all below the video anymore because it's just too much trouble to put every link. So we just include our social media links instead. There's 6 hours of the ionosphere. And it's looking a little bit blotchy on the southern hemisphere side. There's the current image at 8 o'clock Universal Time. Southern side looking a little on the discharge side. And not really a surprise as we have a very, very weak solar wind. Next, looking at pressure cells. So getting a little bit closer to home here and letting this advance on the GFS forecast. As I touch my face some more, it's not the apply lotion to face yet section. There's where things will be at 1400 tomorrow. And that's 1400 Eastern Daylight Time. And we're on tsunami.gov because there was a 6.6 magnitude quake here. But we didn't see any tsunami warning threat advisories or watches. So that's good news. It's a 6.6 magnitude quake at 78 miles depth. And that happened late last night, Universal Time. Let's go up the list of the last 24 hours. Another deep quake at Vostok. So that's 2 in 2 days. 2 deep quakes at Vostok, Russia. Not to be confused with our home, Lake Vostok, Antarctica. Let's check out the location of that one, as we've seen 2 of them out there in the ocean. And there's an interesting rift zone there. Check it out. There's like a hole in the ocean. All right. Pardon if I'm geographically challenged. And I'm just going to scroll up the list here. I don't need to mention every quake that happened. Here's a 4.6 at depth at Fiji, nearly 500 kilometers and a 4.6 magnitude. Oh, so this is being reported as 112 kilometers depth. So that could be the predecessor to a larger quake if that one would have happened at the surface. Whew, that would be a 7+ magnitude quake if it happened at the surface. Let's hope no tsunamis do get generated. Here's a deep quake at Chile. So deep quake events kicking off once again. That 4.9 is at 107 kilometers at Chile. And Tonga and Japan also seeing some deep quakes. Just make sure that's refreshed, and indeed it is. That latest one coming in just a couple hours ago there at a 5.2 magnitude at 200 kilometers depth. Volcanoes also be blowing up. Abico, there's an uptick at Abico, 13,000 foot ash plume there. Aso, flight level 6,000. Semaru exploding, flight level 13,000. Tokono exploding, flight level 7,000. And Loaihai, that's a great name. Loaihai. I hope that's how it's pronounced. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. On 10 and 11, seismic activity at the submarine volcano. Oh, geez. More than 100 earthquakes beneath it. And we've been seeing Mauna Loa expanding for months. And some other activity at, it's not Pu'u'o'o, that's my favorite name of a volcano ever, but it's one of those Kilauea subvolcanoes. So there's quite a bit of activity going off on Hawaii. Popocatépetl exploding. Down in Mexico, 19,000 foot plume there. No volcanic ash cloud observed at Sangay. Revenador exploding, flight level 15,000. Nevados de Chilean exploding, flight level 12,000. Don't fly your John Denver style ultralight aircraft over the caldera, or you might end up like John Denver. And now it's time to be spooked, scared, and frightened because of you know what. Cheddar. The first thing we got to do is we got to talk about cheddar, and we have to talk about how to pronounce cheddar. So now today, one of the things I won't be doing is playing my DR770 because since I'm essential personnel, I'm just busier thanks to you know what. So probably won't be plugging this in today. Possibly tomorrow there'll be some like homemade drum beats. But first we got to talk about how to pronounce ched. So let me apply face lotion while at the same time talking about how to say ched. So if you want to say ched like Trump, what you got to do is you got to wash your hands and your face. Then take your favorite face lotion, and we won't advertise mine. It's not a sponsor yet. And apply that face lotion and say ched. Act like you have sinusitis. So that's what you want to do. You want to pretend like you have a sinus infection, and you want to say ched, 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 and then get other people to say ched like Trump does. I don't know why. It's just a fun hobby. It's not because I'm a friend or a foe. It's just because it's hilarious. Ched, ched. That thing is made of ched. Okay, ched. If you ever, okay, here's the thing. Okay, so ched, ched. Come on, say it, or I'm gonna keep doing this all day until you say ched, and then you gotta get at least one other person to say ched. Do you feel like you're living in a corporatist plutocracy? Have you ever felt that way? Like you live in a corporate made in shed. Are you a bit of a critic of certain plutocratic corporatists? Would you like to see certain people removed from office? Would you like to see him dye his facial hair purple? I certainly would. How about a giant purple mohawk, Tom? How about a giant purple recall election, Tom? So we've updated one of the things we've been doing while we're, quote, locked down, end quote. By the way, if you hear a rumble in the background, it's because we're in the bunker, the smash bunker, yes. And I hope that wasn't some kind of a glitch. It could be a glitch in the matrix. So we've got various sections about Covidiocy on the smashomash.com/forum now. One of them is called Covidiots. It's literally called #Covidiots, since that's going to be the word of the year in 2019. So please post your favorite Covidiot story, like Mary did. And so Twitter's taken its censorship into OD. And I wasn't tweeting very much. I haven't been banned from Twitter yet, but I assume it's going to be only a matter of time. Let's hope I don't get banned from Twitter, but in any case, I'll try my best, folks. But check out this one. This is my favorite. Indian cops use metal tool to grab social distancing dissidents. It's like Sir, you're not wearing a mask. Sir, you are not wearing a mask. Please keep your distance, sir. Get in the back. Get in prison, where you will amass with more people not wearing masks. Oh, this is the best. Hands up, barks a police officer, which looks like some sort of cattle prod, which presumably isn't yet electrified. Well, thank goodness. At least they didn't figure out they can hook a taser up to that thing. Some kind of Venus flytrap for humans. By the way, if you want to share stories directly from the forum, you can just click there. This is a Paul Joseph Watson piece that we picked up from Zero Hedge, I believe it was. Check that one out. Yes! That is a win. Now, yesterday we referred to our video talking about toroidal versus poloidal fields. The poloidal field would be coming out like this. This is referring to poloidal motion in reference to the pole, and this would be toroidal motion, like what you're doing right now if you're on Earth. So anyway, watch that cosmology segment. We have playlists now, so that's the point. If you haven't seen the playlists, there are playlists now on YouTube. And there was some talk yesterday in the comments section about neutron star comets. So here's one. Somebody was looking at something over here, and they were like, what is going on? What is this occultation by a giant radio source? Well, it turns out it was neutron star RxJ185635-3754, a catchy name. For a neutron star, that's moving at hundreds of thousands of miles per hour. So later they found it again here on October 6, 96, and by September 16, 99, it was all the way over here. Now, I'm not sure what cosmology theories you are into, but please let that one sink in, especially if you're scared of Nibiru. Now, this is nowhere near Earth, but here's a teaser. Yeah, it's a neutron star. We talked about it for a brief moment yesterday, and this would be a good one for a t-shirt too. Maybe this will be the second t-shirt after we are done with the production of the 3C405. Anyway, watch that video. Is that one on BitChute? I really don't know, but it's certainly on YouTube, and all you got to do is go to the playlist. If you head to the page, you click playlists, come down here to the cosmology segment. There are now 65 videos in there. Click view full playlist, and then you can just scroll down. There are some sun videos in there and some other stuff, coronal mass ejection videos. So perhaps check that out. Also, thanks to our new subs on BitChute, we appreciate your patronage. And again, we haven't forgotten about the 150 subscriber special. Just a little bit too busy. New series coming out on TNT, Snowpiercer, about train that goes through a icy world and contains the last remnants of humanity. It's kind of like the Hunger Games mentally handicapped edition. At least the movie was. So this is going to be a series. Maybe it'll be, quote, good, end quote. But I doubt it. In any case, we're on Twitter if you haven't checked us out over there. There's some exclusive stuff. By the way, R.I.P. Jerry Stiller. The best quote ever is, I went to the department store to buy a doll for my son. When I got to the shelf, there was only one left. As I reached for it, so did another man. As I rained blows upon him, I thought, there's got to be a better way. A Festivus for the rest of us. A Festivus of social media is Minds, Minds.com. The traffic over there is pathetically low, but it's currently spring, so people are outside doing things, thank goodness, and not locking themselves in a literal cave in their basement, Johnny Depp style. Get your vitamin D. Welcome to the Neo Renaissance, folks. Cheers. Head to smAsho.org. We've got a bunch of links, as well as to the forum linked down here. And Smash staff, please watch the videos and create a graphical link to the forum. Thanks. We've got a vast section on coronavirus, COVID-19 that is, and we've been covering it since January 23rd, nearly every day. Not quite every day, but nearly every day. So another thing you may want to do is read about what's going on where Rand Paul and Dr. Fauci are arguing. I believe that's another Zero Hedge article. By the way, Zero Hedge has been banned from Twitter, so make sure you view their websites. Because you know when the flak is the heaviest, you must be over target. Rand Paul, probably my favorite senator. You could also read Rand Paul's waste report, so if you'd like to see all the waste, fraud, and abuse going on by the government, check out Rand Paul's waste report. It's a delight. And shout out to Rand Paul for going out and telling the truth about things like the national debt, which has recently gone over $25 trillion. Shout out to Peter Schiff for informing me of this. So there's the current debt clock situation. And it makes you want to go, oh my God. All right. What would that mean? Burning debt. Oh, how would that work? Have you ever seen Fight Club? All right, I won't get into it. Now, we are also on Locals. And now just to get you to go to Locals, if you head to smashomash.locals.com, you can get the Bernie Sanders School of Economics meme. Bernie as being quoted as saying, you don't necessarily need a choice of 27 different underarm spray deodorants or of 18 different pairs of sneakers while children are hungry in this country. See, we've got some senators that are economically literate and some that are economically illiterate. You guess which. By the way, we're also on Facebook, and it's a violation of your civil rights to force you, if healthy, to do anything differently. So one of the things you should do is get rid of that. Thanks, son. See you when you rise. Hold those claim otherwise responsible. Forgive and don't forget. Wearing a mask and being locked down are a choice, not a mandate. Those attempting to enforce completely inappropriate and ineffective measures because of SARS-CoV-2 have identified themselves as a problem. Proceed accordingly. Do things like sign this petition, which is also on the Facebook page, facebook.com/smashomash. Just scroll down and sign the petition to recall slimy plutocrat Tom Wolf. Since he plays pandemic politics, levels unconstitutional threats such as retracting liquor license and insurance coverage for businesses that reopen. So, please contact the National Association of Insurance Commissioners and inform them of this, especially the Pennsylvania chapter, as I'd be very interested if insurance companies are willing to not extend insurance coverage based on Tom Wolfe's executive fiat to stay closed. Take the next step. Share the petition and get rid of Tom Wolfe. Send him out the right way, slightly earlier than he would otherwise. Have you been compelled to dress like this? I like to carry things to their logical conclusions, which is why I've begun ripping the seats out of vehicles so that when I get to wear a full spacesuit every time I go someplace, I'll have plenty of room. I didn't order the spacesuit, but again, please sign the petition. Head to the Facebook page, or it's also on the Minds page, I think. It's all over the internet. It's on Twitter, I'm quite sure. And follow me on Instagram. You may see behind-the-scenes things, such as picking up a DR770. Please leave a comment if you know what a DR770 is. All right, so check it out. We've got Molybdenum 99 is now up to number 45, currently on the instrumental rock subgenre. So go over there and have a listen. Let's get us into the top 20 subgenre, which will probably place us in the top 100 overall rock genre. And shout out once again to Smash staff, for whom the song was written. And by the way, that's not played with a DR770. How do you like them apples? Let's get back to data. Now that we're done talking about hobbies. This is the serious stuff. Check out the jet streams of the eastern world. We've got warm air getting injected into the Arctic. We've got cold air being injected into the Far East. Doubled up, tripled up jet streams in the south. Check it out. Here's the western jets. We're looking at flight level 25,000 here, folks. And get that off of my map. There we go. That's better. Next, we'll look at water vapor maps. Here's Europe and Africa. Here's Far East and Oceania. Here's a lightning map. A lone lightning bolt. There's thunder rolling in to Big Timber. I kind of wish I was at Big Timber. I would do run after run. I'll bet it's still powder to end all powder up there. Here's a US Doppler radar. And son of a beehive. Jeez, oh whiz. Goodness, goshness, graciousness. Son of a bit turn. Please leave a comment if you know what a bit turn is. Yeah, I'm a hardcore ornithologist. It's these heron-like birds that they stand with their nose pointing up in the air. It's pretty awesome. Next, looking at the U.S. water vapor map, and I want to look at this evaporating rainstorm over southern Texas. I guess Galveston area. My geographic skills are horrendous. Our viewers might actually be able to beat me in the geography categories of Jeopardy. Anyway, that looks like it's chilled out, and it's moving out as it gets pushed to the east by this drier, more massive air. I love the recent stories about how climate models didn't understand the way dry and moist air relate to each other at a given mass, temperature, and barometric pressure. It's hilarious. Thanks to our patrons, whether you're an assistant or an associate producer. We appreciate your continued support. We're also on Subscribestar. It's a different tier. Over here, it's a $1 and a $9.99 per month tier. Over here, it's a $3 per month tier. And there's slightly different content on both. Thanks to the Smash team. please consider sharing the content on your social media, as we are expanding into all sorts of different things behind the scenes, and we can only divulge so much at a time. Here's the intensity gram of the local yellow dwarf. Here's me vanishing. By the way, if you view live, and again, we are streaming live at twitch.tv/smAsho, please leave a comment. And we have seen the viewership go up over there, so thanks everybody. Colorized magnetogram not showing a lot of magnetic organization. A little bit of mixed fields up here. Otherwise, low levels of activity. And how about the 171 angstroms view? My personal favorite. We'll be coming at you with more content soon, so stay tuned. And again, go watch those cosmology segments. There are a lot of them. Some of them are just solar activity. Some of them are half-hour-long segments about cosmology. So again, visit the links. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in, viewing the live premiere, subscribing wherever you might be, leaving a comment. We appreciate all of that. Whether you're a friend or a foe, we don't mind. Anyway, may that solar wind be at your back, and that covidiocy absent from your galaxy. By the way, if you're a covidiot and you're watching, I heard M31 is lovely this time of year. That's the Andromeda Galaxy. Go have a check.